Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal, Adab. My name is Kabir Aditya and this is my show where I discuss about movies. Those of you thinking, why am I talking in English all of a sudden? It's because of the theme and the topic of the video. I want this video to reach out to our non-Indian, non-Hindi speakers as well. So what is this video about? We're going to discuss movies. Not movie analysis that we have done in the past on why they worked and why a certain movie worked or didn't work, but we're going to talk about film industry as a whole. Bollywood versus Hollywood. To begin with, I would like to clear up the term Bollywood for the non-Indian guys out there. Bollywood, I hate that term. It is a term copied right after Hollywood. It's a rip-off of that term. Hollywood is a specific place, and it makes sense that you got that name, but Bollywood is just a rip-off of it. And Bollywood came up because was the movies that are mostly made, the film industry is in Mumbai, which was known as Bombay before. So when the movies that started off in India, it started off in the city when it was called Bombay. So B and then the Bollywood, they just came up with a random name of it to give it more attention, I guess. But a lot of people outside India think that Bollywood refers to movies across the world, across the country of India. They refer it to as Indian cinema. That's the mistake. Indian cinema refers to movies that are made in multiple languages, not only Hindi. For example, Punjabi, Gujarati, Marathi, Bengali, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada, and so on and so forth. So when you term as Indian cinema, it should include all of the languages which make movies in India. We'll discuss the differences between them in another video, but that's the idea. Bollywood refers to specifically Hindi cinema, the movies that are made in Hindi. So when I'm going to talk about this video, when I'm comparing Bollywood and Hollywood, is specifically the Hindi cinema that I'm going to compare to Hollywood. Let's begin. There's quite a few differences. We do have many similarities with Bollywood and Hollywood, but there's quite a few differences between Bollywood and Hollywood as well. Number one, language. Obviously, Hollywood movies, majority have been made in English. Bollywood makes movies in Hindi. But you also have to know that Bollywood doesn't shy away from making movies that are entirely in English. Hollywood doesn't make movies that are besides any movie that's besides in English. For example, if you look at Napoleon, it's a movie about a French conqueror, French king, but they still end up making the whole movie in English. In Bollywood, we don't shy away. If the movie is supposed to be made entirely in English with some dialogues in Hindi, we'll do that. It's because English is one of the native languages of India as well, thanks to the British. But yeah, you get what I mean. So almost everyone in India speaks English and understands it. But it's very rare as well because Hindi cinema, its majority is made in Hindi, but we don't shy away from changing that language to English. Now that's the difference, is the use of language. Then we have the use of music. A lot of you are going to be saying, oh, Bollywood has certain kinds of music and they always end up dancing in the middle of the street, blah, blah, blah. We'll get to that later. But the idea of music that started off in Bollywood was to not only provide entertainment, but it was to move a story forward, which is why we have lyrics in our songs. When we put up background music or something, we also end up putting sometimes the lyrics, and we end up, from that, it evolved into make it complete songs. So you're moving a story forward, you're providing entertainment as well. And using the idea of entertainment, you sometimes use monologues into that conversation, or certain conversation that cannot be done between two characters and they're separate, but they're discussing it through to the audience through that music. In India, monologues are considered very boring by filmmakers. No one pays attention to it and nobody likes it. So to put an interesting touch to it, they started using music in terms of that, which is why many songs are very like in a conversation style. It's like writing a scene in India when you write a song. At least it used to be. The music industry now is completely dead in Bollywood. In Hollywood, but the idea is a bigger focus on the background themes, the music, the background music and the themes of certain characters or a certain film or a certain world within that film. So that's the difference. You guys, in Hollywood, the use of lyrics is very rare, and if there are, the whole of the song is not used in the movie. It's more used as promotional tactics is used in Bollywood as well, but it's kind of a bit more entertaining for the audience. Now, coming from that music, we're going to go to the dance, the idea of dance. In Hollywood, the use of dance is when the movie's theme is on dance. So if it's a dance competition movie or if it's something related to that, which is why you see a lot of trained actors have to train in that dance scenes. And dance scenes, they don't just erupt out of nowhere. If there's background dancers behind them dancing with them, it's because they've plotted that scene within that movie because of how the story is. In Bollywood, that's one flaw we have. When you see randomly that a main guy is dancing in the middle of the street and the background dancers join him, it's because the filmmakers are too lazy to come up with a scenario where it can happen naturally. It's like they need a certain dance because of entertainment. We are all like that. Our culture is where we see someone dancing in a party and everybody ends up joining them and started copying them. So when we see that in front of the screen, it's very rare for us to think like, it's easy for us to digest that. I know why our foreigner friends or Hollywood, the audience from the Hollywood, would have difficulties understanding it, is because their use of dance is very different in the movies and the use of dance is very different in our Bollywood movies. It's just how our culture is. And many times the theme of the movie in Hollywood, if it doesn't require music and songs, they don't put it. In Bollywood, even they might not put those certain songs and movies and songs into the whole movie, but you'll see at the end of the credit scene, you'll have at least one dance song that's probably used for the promotional tactic, but it's usually put at the end. So that's how filmmakers are very clever now, even though if they disregard the use of music and dance in the middle of the film, the whole film. But the filmmakers are forced usually by the producers, because of the audience, that you need at least one dance number. So they end up putting it at the end credits. It is how it is. We just love our music and dance. I think because when there's a developed country's audience and when there's a developing country's audience, the stories that are going to be popping out are going to be very different to each other. For example, when there's a developing country, the ideas of rags to riches, poor guy, rich girl, poor girl, rich guy, those kinds of love stories and all of that, they're probably going to work a lot more in the Hindi cinema. But once you have it in Hollywood, when you are already developed, you can look beyond that, because the society's social gap between the rich and the poor is much less. So when you see that almost everybody's already developed and they have the basic needs covered, they end up focusing on things like what would the world look like in 1,000 years, or if how would the world end like, or certain imaginary characters like zombies and all of that. They can come up with those out of the world possibilities of aliens, of sci-fi movies, and all of those. Is because you don't have that many conflicts that can arise because of what the society in a developed country is. But when a country is developing, there's good, but there's also bad and certain issues that need to be resolved but haven't been resolved yet. So that social gap, or somebody wanting to dream to become very rich and they're coming from a lower class background. So that's why those stories work in Bollywood, and the stories that get developed in Hollywood are very different. Now, I think the budget of the films allocated is very different. Hollywood is very smart. If they are hiring a certain actor like Leonardo DiCaprio, he's not going to have an unreasonably high budget. Like if a movie's budget is $600 million, you can be sure that Leonardo DiCaprio hasn't demanded like $300 million. 50% of the budget is just for the main actor. You don't have that. The most of the money spent for that movie would probably be in the production design, in hiring certain artists, or the locations that they've chosen to shoot in, or certain kinds of camera that they've used, or certain techniques, or some artists that deserve the money, but most of the budget will be allocated respectively. In Bollywood, it's very different. Certain actors demand such huge wages that they end up taking chunk of the budget, that the movie overall has been made in, let's say, $20 million. The budget of the actor would be like $12 million. I mean, that's just not fair. It doesn't make sense, because they've inflated it, the whole budget, and it ends up becoming financially unsuccessful. If you have to be very, very smart when you're investing that way. I don't know why producers do that in India, but that's the difference between the producers' mindsets and the actors' ability to demand such a high wage in these industries. That's the difference, the budget allocation. Now we're going to go into the similarities in Bollywood and Hollywood. A lot of you probably going to be shocked to hear this. Many a times Bollywood thinks that Hollywood makes short movies like 1.5 hours. Hollywood thinks Bollywood movies are very long and they're usually over 3 hours. I think they both are wrong. Nowadays, you have both the industries making 3 hours plus movies. Both the industries make less than 2 hour movies as well. Those of you who don't know, there's many movies in India that can be 1.5 hours, 1 hour, 45 minutes max. And the average length in both the industries, if you see, is usually 2 to 2.5 hours, majority of the movies. So a lot of you who confuse that the length of the movies, that Hollywood movies are shorter, Bollywood movies are longer, I think you're kind of mistaken. This is what I've observed by watching movies from around the world, and specifically Bollywood and Hollywood. Now, another similarity that we have, which was shocking for me to hear that Hollywood has that issue as well, is the lack of female-centric movies in Bollywood and Hollywood. We have so many talented actresses, skilled actresses in both the industries, but but we still fail to create so many good movies that are female, that have strong female characters as the main lead. There's very rarely an exceptions that you'll have in both the industries that pop out rarely and they end up doing well as well. It's only because they made it properly. A lot of producers in India, and I'm so shocked that even Hollywood has that so they just don't think that a female-centric movie can earn that much money. That doesn't mean you cannot write a good story on that. If you've written good, proper stories and you make the movie well, I think regardless of the gender of the main character, regardless if they're a male or a female, the movie will work. The audience is hungry for good stories, not if the main character is a male or a female. That's the similarity I felt is where I observed is in the both industries. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. If you have any other comment on the similarity and differences, make sure you write in the comment section down below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel while you're at it. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, where I post reels every day on a different country and multiple other topics, of course. Now let's continue. Both the industries, when certain actors do a certain iconic role or a certain type of genre, the audience cannot look beyond that for them. For example, in Hollywood, Daniel Radcliffe was the main lead who was in Harry Potter. Tell me how many movies have you watched except Harry Potter that starred Daniel Radcliffe? Not many, right? That's the idea. The filmmakers and the audience start seeing certain actors in a certain way. So for example, you have Tom Cruise, immensely successful, but can you imagine him doing a movie besides action? Romantic comedy, psychological thriller, political thriller. Even if the certain thriller is made, it's going to have a lot of action, right? That's what I mean. And then you have in Bollywood as well. If you see a certain Ayushmann Khurrana, Kartik Aaryan movie, they have a certain template attached to them. If you see Sanjay Dutt, he was mainly known as the villain of Bollywood, the main guy. He does villainous roles really well. It's his skill that he's expanded from that. He can do comedies, he can do romantic movies as well. But the producers and the audience saw him as he's one of the best villains of India. Then you have certain actors like Salman Khan as well, who fit into that category, which is very odd. And because a lot of people just attach to it, like see him as an action guy. But in my opinion, he's done multiple romantic movies as well, multiple different genres. His comic timing is immensely amazing, underrated. So that's another actor where you see that he gets typecasted in a certain film. But again, they produce his own film, so I think he can come up with a movie that's non-action as well. And in Hollywood, when you see a Leonardo DiCaprio or a Brad Pitt or Al Pacino and etc., you cannot attach a specific character or a specific genre with them. They can do any kind of movie. Similarly, in Bollywood, you have Shahrukh Khan and Amitabh Bachchan and Ranbir Kapoor and all these guys who can do any kind of a film, regardless of the genre, regardless of what the character is and a certain image. They have moved on beyond that. But the issue about certain image getting attached to that actor, it doesn't leave them, and it becomes more of a liability to them in the future. Is a similarity. So that's it from today's video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you have any other point where I missed out in the similarities and differences between Bollywood and Hollywood, please put them in the comment section down below. And what was the one thing that was shocking for you to hear in this video, or what you found very interesting? Put them in the comment section down below. If you have a certain topic you want me to compare, or a certain actor and career graphs or story-wise, or any other movies, let me know in the comment section down below, or just message me on Instagram, and this is my Instagram ID. Do not forget to hit the follow button if you haven't yet, and please do like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell icon so that whenever I upload a new video, you end up getting the notification. Until the next video, thank you once again.